All right, good morning, everybody. TG here. It is December 27th, and welcome to the social media thing on Wednesday for us. So I was just on over Simpler Trading. We were on in the options room and the Moxie room. So right now we're still going in the Moxie room, and yeah, now we're on Facebook and I don't know, Twitter and YouTube and anything else that they plug us into. But since we're out there, I want to make sure you guys all know that we are doing our New Year, New Market sale, 30% off most courses, indicators, anything else like that. So, if you guys have been interested in the Moxie indicator since you're here watching me, now's a good time to get it. Anything else? I am also working on a new class. I really need to get my butt in gear on that one. So yeah, it's going to be a new thing because finally we're starting to see this market come back, and the things we're seeing about the crypto and the biotech space and just absolutely mind-boggling moves. It's really feeling like 2020 again, and so definitely this is kind of my kind of market, and it should be fairly good going into 2024. So I was like, now's the time to make sure that people know how to trade a market like this. And so I'm going to be putting a new class together, and hopefully we'll start doing some mini webinars and some other things coming up in the next few weeks to make sure we're ahead of this whole thing. But anyway, code new24 at checkout if you guys are interested in anything that we have to offer. So brighter side, we got some stuff to talk about, don't we? I always like it. I tune in to Restream here, and I hit the chat button, and before I'm even live, I always got a couple comments from you, so that's great. Really appreciate you guys kind of tuning in and saying hi. So let me first catch up on what you're talking about, because I think you and I are going to be discussing the same thing today, and that's going to be that short that we talked about last week, right? You're like saying, thinking this might be the end or near end of a Santa rally watching SQQQ, but the market is making a tough time to give up that ghost. Yes. Okay, let's start there. So, brighter side. You remember how last week, and it was exactly Wednesday, where we were talking about this, and I said, yeah, things are pretty far up there. We could probably use a bit of a pullback. And you were talking about being in the SQQQ and wanting to short it. And I said, hey, totally possible. It's due for a pullback, but I would say you got to keep it really near term. And yeah, I just wouldn't be bearish on the market. And it's challenging to try to short a very, very strong market that is up like this. And lo and behold, a couple hours later, we got this huge downside move. You were totally right. I was right. We were looking for a pullback, nailed it. Now, the only other thing is, I hope you took your money, and maybe try it again, because I think that this is a lesson that when you have a big market like this and you get a pullback, especially one that is so quick like that, remember, the pendulum likes to swing. When you get a near vertical move to the downside like that, you're at least most likely going to get a bounce after that. Even if it's going to go lower, you're most likely going to get a bounce. So given that this thing is not in a downtrend and all you were trying to do was kind of catch something that was overbought and likely to just pull back, when you get something like that, take it. This is a really good lesson. So you can tell me what you did or if you want to or not, but that is just one thing I've had to learn over my years, because I would get greedy and I was like, oh, this is it. I nailed it. And then all my things would just vaporize over the next couple days because it just didn't work out. I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I need to learn? Well, what I need to learn is that this thing was still very much an uptrend. It was just overbought, and they decided to let a little bit of air out and then run it back up. Also, this market is so horrendously strong coming into the end of the year. People want to be happy. Like, they want to be able to go hang out with their family and eat food and open presents and do whatever and stuff like this without really having to worry about the market too much. So yeah. Anyway, I hope you just kind of took that one thing and been like, wow, I got it. Cash it in, and then let's see where the market's going to go after that, because likely there's at least going to be a small bounce, and then you can see where it is. And you know what? Here you are making new highs. Making new highs. And then you could see that the confirmation to the upside was here when price started to bounce off of the 15-minute 50, and that confirmed to the upside. So yes, once again, as you said, the market is overbought. It's frothy. It could use a pullback. Totally agree with you. The question is when and how. And as I've kind of said before, last time we were talking, it can pull back, but also still go sideways. So just because the market did pull back here, you could also argue that it really just went sideways. So depending on where you get in, you didn't really make anything. Now, I don't know if the market is due for a bigger pullback. I don't know. We never quite know. But I do think it is at least due for something. But I just still wouldn't short it unless you're going to be trading this thing short term, because it's not going to, it usually doesn't happen in a very smooth waterfall. It kind of happens at a very janky kind of way. I mean, just look at this pullback. I mean, look how many up and downs there were in order to even reach a distance. And it's the same thing here, that if the market does pull back, well, likely you're going to pull back to the 21, and then you're probably going to bounce, and then you're going to do something, and then do this, and you're just going to work your way down until you like really get the next big move. So if you're going to be trying to short it, take in small pieces that you can basically trust, or only as far as you can throw it, kind of thing. So that's I think that Wednesday thing was a perfect example, and I'm glad we were able to go back here. And thanks for being ready to chat about it. So yeah, just great material for us to circle back with. All right, then Kevin, good to see you from Lakeland, Florida. Awesome. Yeah, I'm up here in Washington, and it is cold. It's also dark. Although I guess we hit the solstice, so we are starting to every day is a little bit longer now. We have reached the other side. All right, and then cannabis is starting to perk up. MSOS is one of those. This goes along with let's see. This goes along with what I was saying about crypto. So crypto and biotech and cannabis are starting to come alive. That is a definitive change from what we've been seeing over the last 2.5, maybe even 3 years. Okay. And I think that a lot of it has to do with, the market did its own bear market. It demolished most of these things. A lot of these things just got absolutely demolished. They got repriced, then they flagged. It kind of went into hibernation for a while, and then the market started to sniff out that the Fed is going to reduce interest rates, and the market likes that. Even though it might mean we go into a recession or something like that, the market likes to price things ahead of time, and it is forward-looking, and it is pricing in the idea of interest rate cuts. And so yes, cannabis, crypto, biotech, they are going absolutely bonkers. And so, yeah, I do think that MSOS is looking really good. I mean, really, what is not to like about this? That looks really good. If you can just kind of hold on to some of the choppiness, I think that this is looking good. And just look at the sheer volume coming into these things. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So performing well, that now double tested the daily 200. Yeah, let's see if that did that. Yep. So that was one thing I was looking for. I wanted to see what this pullback ended up looking like, because we took a small trade right here as price was able to cross through the daily 50. But then, I got out when this thing started to roll over, and we only made a few percent, but better than a stick in the eye. And then it came back down, and then this thing really started to pop off. So we've put on a little bit of a starter position. I do think that this is probably going to settle in a little bit because the 50 is still way down here compared to the 200. But I do think that longer term this is going to go. So we just put a small piece on, and we'll add more as it starts to develop. So yeah, that one's looking good. Brighter side, are you in the Moxie group? Because I thought you kind of didn't. I thought you signed off from that thing a while ago. But yeah, you're talking about all the tickers that I've been looking at. Yeah, but Blink, this is another area that looks like it's going. I mean, look at the sheer amount of volume coming into this thing. So we tried taking a trade here. Yeah, I know you used to be, but man, you're catching all the names I'm looking at. You got some friends on the inside, giving you a walkie-talkie from within. But yeah, try getting one of there just in case this thing wanted to hold and move up. Because and my reason for doing so is because it has done it in the past. So I wanted to take a shot, see what it did. Could have gone sideways and up, but instead it dropped pretty handily today, which was a risk. And it came down, tapped us out just perfectly. Maybe I could have used a bigger stop, but you never know. But right now, I would say that it has come back down to a reasonable place and another reasonable place here. And so I'm still looking at it. And yeah, big volume is coming in here. I think that this, maybe I just set my stop a little too tight, and instead of holding up here and letting the moving averages come up, it actually came down to the moving averages, and then hopefully it'll recycle. So yeah, I'm not too worried about that. But if we look at the higher time frame, I knew that this, like, if this is going to work, this is on the cutting edge of the beginning of this trade, because you can see there's a bit of a double bottom right there. And just again, look at that volume. That volume is what's talking to me. Something is going on with Blink and kind of that whole industry. Yeah, man. Brighter side, you are reading my mind on some of these things. All right, Palantir, we're out of it. I've been waiting for it to settle down. I don't think it's bad. It just didn't go when I wanted it to go, but there is a level right here. In fact, let me put another line. You can see it. That line looks pretty clear. Yeah, right there. And you can see that it's coming into the weekly 21. So I do think it'll continue to move up, but I think what happened was, since it did not get put into the S&P, Uber did instead, that I just think it's kind of getting sold off. You know, a lot of the hype or the rumors or anything else that had Palantir getting put into the S&P, when that didn't happen, I'm sure just a lot of people are like womp womp womp, and then they sold out of it. So at this point, I'm just waiting for it to kind of recover. It hasn't done anything yet. It's still under these moving averages. Just nothing quite to do yet. Maybe it'll recover eventually, but we're just gonna have to give it time. All right, top spin. Yeah, good to see you too. Let's see, what are we looking at here? Okay, so let's start with the bigger stuff, because if you're looking at XLV, I mean, personally, I mean, look at that, just sideways. You know, this looks like gold, right? Okay, it'll break out eventually, and it might. Maybe this is when it finally does start to break out. But boy, you know, my first inclination is that I don't really want to trade something that it just is that choppy. Um, that being said, sure, there was a setup. You can see there was a 5250 right there. There was a trampoline move right there, and you can see price started to engage with the hourly 50 right there. And yes, there was a move. Now, based on the history of XLV, what do you think if you're in, what do you think the best idea to do right here is? Probably take profits, because the likelihood of this thing pulling back is pretty darn high. Because if you look, I don't know if you want to do a diagonal line like that, or if you just want to do a horizontal line, but it's running into resistance. And as you can see, at some point, it always pulls back. So there's a gap here, and it's likely to pull back at some point. Now, the thing to do, topspin, is if you are interested in XLV, you should wait for it to pull back, and then you have to verify if that pullback is into support and it goes up, or if that pullback just keeps pulling back and it keeps going back to its lows. And that's the trick. That's where the skill of being a stock trader comes in, is to figure those things out. All right, ABBV. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, man, I don't know. Sure, maybe this is where these things finally break out. You know, there's your double bottom, and there's a nice move. But again, this does not look like the place that I want to get long at. If I had a trade, that would be a good place to take a little bit off, be prepared for a pullback. Yeah, maybe that pullback is the beginning of the next major move, maybe, but we need to have it prove itself. And right here, right now, does not seem like a place that I want to get long. If anything, you know, just be prepared for a pullback, and then you got to figure out if that pullback is going to be into support and then it continues higher, or if it's going to come down and then continue down a little bit further. So that's the trick. We're kind of in the mode that I would say be prepared for pullbacks, and then figure out if the pullback is bullish or not. BMY, no. Somebody told me in the options room that Bristol Myers bought 2 biotechs either this year or sometime in the last couple months. So I don't know. I don't know anything about any of that. Gosh, talk about a bottom feeder. The only thing I could say, the only bullish thing I could say, is that it's so bearish that maybe it turns around. So it's really the only thing. It's really pulled away from its moving average here on the monthly chart. It's coming into the third ATR. It went outside of the third ATR on the weekly chart. Like, this thing might be just so bearish that it could actually turn around. But that's something I don't personally want to try. I see what you see here with the Moxie indicator and the cross of the 8 and 21, same thing here with the hourly. So yeah, if it's going to go, then something around here would be where it could go up, but it can still chop around a bit until it finally moves up. So I just think that there are better things to try and chase. Now, I am chasing a couple names that look just like this, but they're working, and I don't know, I have a better feeling about them, better vibe. And let's see, GEHC. Oh, it looks like I have looked at this at some point. You can see my mark there. Yeah, look at that. There's a bit of an elf shoe. I think that's why I marked it. So let's see, leg, heel, arch of the foot, ball of the foot. There's your elf toe. Nice move, but again, starting to look a little bit overbought. Well, maybe not overbought, but extended. And you could also say here, look what it's doing. I would say look at that line. Oh, come on. There you go. It's coming right back up into the underside of this big price block. So it's probably going to run into some resistance. And so, yeah, it could go higher, but I have a feeling it wants to take a break before going higher. And this is kind of true across the board. Topspin, your questions about your tickers kind of get me to to say the thing that I've been trying to tell everybody, is that this market has been amazingly bullish, and we have 90% of names over their 50-day SMA. That's great, but also how much further can we go? And I think that being that we are in the strongest time of the year, the Santa Claus rally, all that kind of stuff, people are on vacation, people may not want to be selling right now, but they might sell at the first of the year. You got to think about tax loss type stuff. And when do people want to put their gains? Like, think about it. All the gains that people made right here, if they sell them this year, they have to take tax on those gains this year. So maybe they want to defer those until next year. And this is maybe why these things like this are just hanging up here for right now. They are overbought. I would fully expect pullbacks on these things. But just saying, we may not get those pullbacks until the end of the year, till after the end of the year, maybe because of tax purposes. So it's stuff like that we just kind of, this time of the year, we need to think about. But yeah, GEHC, you can see I've already got some notes on it. Looks good. That was a great move. It bounced nicely off of the daily 50, but I also can't buy it here. I'd wait for a pullback. And the question is, when is that pullback going to happen? And based on what I said about maybe tax situations, it might not happen until the beginning of the year. Yeah, nice topspin. So yeah, looks like you've got a good idea about this. All right, VB. Let's talk about Dollar General. Man, it kind of looks like Bristol Myers, doesn't it? Yeah, it looks like Bristol Myers Squibb, even though they're totally unrelated. So remember, with Bristol Myers, I said that the only bullish thing about it was that it was so bearish. And Dollar General kind of looks like the same thing. It is so bearish that it might actually go up because maybe it's done going down. That's the only thing I can really say about this. The reason you have to be careful about that is because you can see here it was very bearish and it went lower, and you can see here it was very bearish and it went lower. So that's on that premise of what I just said is only going to work when it finally works. Okay, and maybe that's going to start happening because there is a difference. You see here how price stayed underneath the 8 EMA, and even here it stayed underneath the 21 EMA. Now we're going to look at this. Notice how it has made a little bit of progress. And now the next step is we need to see if this can actually get up and over that 21. Now, it may not do it this time. It might do it next time. And what I mean by that is it might come up to the 21, come down, and then go back up and form a double bottom. So you kind of need, in this kind of funky position that you're so far on the lows, you might need to be prepared for a couple different moves. So if this is going to go up and break that weekly 21, like I said, to the upside, sure, it'll go up, it'll jump up like that. But if it's not quite ready, it might need to do a little dip and then go up. So be prepared for either side. That's about all I can say here for you. But it's a little bit of a challenge because we are playing a bottom feeder like that. All right, Tesla, yeah, well, Tesla's just looking great. And what's not to like about Tesla? I really, 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 really like this weekly chart. I really like what's happening here. It might be slow, but everything's looking good. That monthly chart is looking great too. And then if we look at the daily and the hourly, it's been working also. Again, there could be pullbacks, but for the most part, this thing seems like it's working, and it started working most recently as it bounced off of the hourly 200. And yeah, so now we just kind of let this thing do what it wants to do and keep letting it appreciate and see what the market effect might have, like if the market kind of needs to pull back and see what's up. But all right, guys. So remember, actually, I like what I was saying earlier about the whole tax situation. Why is the market, just hanging up here? Well, because people don't want to sell yet. They're happy. It's vacation time, and the market can stay up for a while. Okay, we're seeing very similar things. And then just keep in mind that it can all change very rapidly. And who knows, maybe it's going to be January 2nd when this changes, because now the calendar rolled over, the tax implications are different. And maybe, I don't know, but I want to bring it to your attention. And so that if it does, we're not surprised. All right, guys. Well, thanks again. Thanks for being so chatty. Always appreciate it. Makes the time fly by, and helps me out. So I got some material to work with. All right, guys. Thanks again, and we'll see you at least next week for the Facebook and YouTube stuff, and then for the Moxie group, I'll be back in the room, but also we'll see you tomorrow.